You're listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith. Hope you're well. The interview subject I've got coming up for you is one of Ozzy's guitarists, Gus G. The reason for the chat with Gus is to talk up his band, Firewind, and the new album. It's a self-titled affair which will be released on the 15th of May 2020. It's very, very good, it must be said. Gosh, I could use more superlatives than that, but if you love traditional heavy metal, and I'm not talking about power metal, but traditional heavy metal stylings, think Iron Maiden, even Ozzy's 80s stuff, man, Firewind certainly bring it. Of course they do, because they've got Gus in the band. So here he is, Gus G from Firewind. Oh, good, mate. God, you've been busy, I know that. So how have the phone calls been going with the Australian media types?
Really good so far. I think I have 6 or 7 from Australia today.
It's a lot, isn't it?
And it's a lot. I have not done so much press in Australia, probably never. So, I rarely do press down for Australia. I don't know why, but maybe this is a good sign. Maybe people are excited about the album. So
I think they are, mate. Yeah, and I think you become I think most people know you through Ozzy in Australia, but more people are catching on to the fact that you've had Firewind for many years prior to joining Ozzy, and it's really been your main vehicle as a musician.
Yeah. It takes time, right? I mean, we've only been doing it for 20 years, so so it takes some time, you know. And I mean, we played there once with Firewind 7 years ago.
I remember, yeah.
And I don't know, were you there at any show or?
I wasn't. It was a period of my life, mate, where I'd completely tuned out of heavy metal, I must confess. And I was just busy with work and stuff like that. But I remember I was getting the street press. Remember the magazines that we used to buy, or that were for free in Australia, at least anyway. And I remember seeing that you were touring. And I've always been a massive Ozzy fan, I've always been a massive fan of Ozzy's guitarists. I'll be clear about this. You know, J.K. Lee.
Oh, okay, cool.
You guys, you know, yourself, Zach. I've had a chat to Zach, Bob Daisley in the past, mate. You know, so I knew who you were from that. And of course, when I saw Firewind and then they had to listen to you guys, I thought, shit, this is actually a really good band. And I think I need to get into this a bit more. But I think you've really done a great job with this self-titled album.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah. It's I'm getting a really good feedback on this, and I'm happy because I went through hell to make it happen.
Really? Why is that?
Yeah, it was. I mean, everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong, but in the end, we managed we managed it. You know, I mean, it was the kind of album where it was like make it or break it. It was like we started making it, and then the band was falling apart, in the midst of all this, and then I had to make the important decision, whether do we continue now or do we split up? And I go do something else, like solo records or whatever. And it was that bad at some point. And but we managed, man. And you know, it's a rewarding feeling when you come through the other side. So and you're like, okay, now we made this album and it's kind of resonating now. We were getting really good feedback. I mean, this is the first, I mean, probably the first Firewind album that I'm getting so much excitement from press for once. I mean, we always had, the usual press and all that, but now it feels like
it's genuine.
I'm hearing a lot of, I'm hearing a lot of good things, which is, I wasn't used to it. And I've started thinking maybe this is actually either really good or it probably sucks in a way, you know?
Well, no, I think it's great, because if I was going to describe what you've done across the album, the 11 cuts on the album, I'd say that you've taken Painkiller and beefed up the heavy metal factor on it, and then you personally have done something similar to what Glenn did with the solos on that album, but you've taken them to their extreme conclusion, and that's not at all to say that you sound like Glenn, or even Painkiller, or Priest, I should say, but Firewind, you know, the DNA and the spirit and the attitude, they're all there, similar to what was on Painkiller, if you know what I'm saying. So this
is a very interesting, parallelism that you're doing there with I know what you mean, like how Priest was pre-Painkiller and after, post-Painkiller, right? That was their new. They came out with Painkiller with all this fucking crazy double bass and this amazing production, and then this all of a sudden it became so heavy and so, like, I don't know. I know what you mean. Like, but
Yeah, it's
thanks.
urgent.
That's a big compliment.
It's urgent. It's bikers music. It's serious stuff. What you're doing here is very serious, man. And I can't stand it when music doesn't sound serious. To be honest with you, like nothing against Steel Panther, but you know what I'm saying. Like, like I've been in a room when those guys have been in there partying, and they're lovely guys. Seriously, they're good guys. But it's not my thing.
They are.
I like serious music, and this is very serious music, you know. But I mean, you must feel, and I kind of think this would be the case for you after the conversation we've just had, that out of all of the Firewind albums, finally, this is the album to do it for you.
I'm getting that feeling too, man. And it's a little bit of a shame that we have to endure this pandemic now.
Yes.
like. You know, it's like you get this feeling where, oh my God, this is the one. I truly feel that. I'm like, I was like, because I gotta be honest with you. Once we were done with the production, I was like so fed up with everything, and like I had second guessed myself so many times. Of course, I believed in the album, but I had second guessed so many things, and I was like, well, is this any good? I think I asked a couple of friends of mine in the press here in Greece, and I gave it to my manager, the guy who does stuff here for me locally, and I was like, well, I don't know. Like, what do you think? Does this suck, or is this good? Or I don't know. Like anymore. It's like I don't know. And then all this press thing started, and it was like everybody that I was talking to, like similar stuff, like what you're telling me, like. Dude, this is like the one, like, and I'm like, fuck, this is the one. And now it's like, oh no, we cannot tour. We cannot.
Yeah.
Like this was going to be the album that I feel would elevate the band to the next level, so to speak. You know, like the next.
Yeah, great.
The next thing. Yeah, and I mean, it will be really bad timing for that now, like on the live front. But I don't know. Maybe it won't be too late next year. So let's see.
It's a pain, yeah, this bloody COVID-19 thing for all of the reasons that we already know. But from a musical perspective, I totally agree with you. And I had a conversation with Ross Friedman, you know, Ross the Boss from Manowar, a couple of weeks back. And he's got a cracking new album out too called Born of Fire. And it's very similar to yours in terms of the sound and the urgency. It's no bullshit. It's just face melting. It's right there. But I do feel exactly what you just said, man. I think... I'll be quite honest with you, man. I just think a lot of people are going to miss out on it because I think you're one of those guitarists that people want to turn up and see. You're a rock star. You're like Bill Hudson and these guys out there, man. Like people want to watch you perform. And to make that connection with the music, it needs to be done through performance. So have you thought about, I mean, you may have already done this. I haven't done a lot of research about it, but you know those videos that are out there? Have you thought about doing a lot of play-alongs and that sort of thing? Because I'd really hate for this album to fall through the cracks.
Yeah, no, I've done like a playthrough already, like tutorial videos and playthroughs, and I will be doing. I mean, content is key right now in such, you know, in these situations. So we will keep the content flowing. It's not like we put the album out and wait for a miracle to happen. You have to work for it. So if we cannot go on tour right now and it has to wait for like 10 or 12 months, then you know we'll do other things. You know, we'll put out more videos or lyric videos, or we'll put out like playthroughs, or you know. It's not the same thing as like going to a venue, of course, and seeing the band live, but we'll try to keep it interesting and keep in touch with the people to, you know, basically make people aware that, hey, this thing is out now. This is what's happening. And I mean, you know, when everything resumes, and I mean, this is not only hurting Firewind, it's hurting the whole touring industry and all the bands, small or big. I don't care who you are. It's hurting everybody. So, but yeah, I mean, there will come a time where we will be able to go back out and do this again, you know?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I actually feel as though you have, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass here when I say this, I feel as though you have very few guitar-playing peers in the world because you are so incredibly accomplished. And I actually feel like as though you've held back a bit on this album compared to some of your other stuff that I've heard from the past. And you're really all about serving the song well, and that's, I think, if I was going to refine my point, that's what it would be, is that your guitar playing, you're so accomplished, you can shred and you can do all of the Marty Friedman stuff, we know that, but you're actually playing for the song specifically on this album here. So, how did the band collaborate, and how did you write material this time around?
Interesting. I actually think that I mean, I always served the song. I mean, that was always my goal. As a matter of fact, I think on this album, maybe I played a little bit more than usual.
Is
I
that
don't think
right?
I played less. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel, I don't know, maybe you feel that because, okay, the songs are well crafted and well arranged. Because it's it's not just about the guitar playing. It's it's about it is about the song, and it is about having a hook line. And we have a really good singer who's taking an equal spotlight on this record, and his talent also shines. So I mean, for me, writing the album, it was like, honestly, it was like business as usual. Like because when I started writing the music, it was still the old lineup without lineup changes and stuff. And I was like in my mind, I was going into making the next Firewind album, like I would do. And sure, there was a little bit of this nervousness between the band, like, okay, because the previous album, Immortals, was well received, and it was our first concept album, and there was a little bit of that. Should we continue with this kind of like epic metal type of concept stuff, or what do we do? Like, what do we do next? Like, we did this concept record for the first time, and it worked, and I realized that, well, it's not really going to play out like that. I wasn't feeling the material was gonna shape to be like Immortals again, and I just basically followed my instinct and my gut feeling, and I just wrote the best riffs that I could write. And I realized that early on that there was going to be variety on this album. That was the key word. Like you would go from heavy metal stuff to hard rock stuff, to stuff that, I mean, we've done in the past too. We've touched upon on albums like Allegiance and stuff, but we hadn't done in years and years. So I'm like, well, maybe in a way it's a return to form, but also kind of like with a fresh approach. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's that variety and that variation on it. Yeah, I agree with your comments. I didn't, if I came across as like saying you weren't playing for the song before, you always have. I want to be clear about that. But I feel like with a guitarist like yourself who could practically do anything you want to do, it always sounds like as though you're having to restrain yourself a little bit because there's that temptation to want to shred over everything, like a Michelangelo sort of a setup.
yeah, I know what you mean. But for that, I would have to put out an instrumental album at some point. I think that's long overdue, because even on my solo records I have vocals, so there's not much instrumentals. So at some point that will happen too. But Firewind is a band that has a certain sound and style, so I know what you mean. Yeah, it's not like they're going to be solos from start to finish, because there is a singer and there is a structure there.
Look, is there a riff or a solo on the album that you'd like to single out for special praise that you're really proud of?
Oh, good question. I don't know. I'm proud of the whole thing, man. It's hard to say. I really like Welcome to the Empire, the opening track. Yeah, I'm proud of that. I think that's one of the really strong moments of the album. Rising Fire is a cool song, very catchy, very heavy. I don't know, hard to say, man. It's like I like all the stuff I did on it.
Rising Fire, I agree with you. I've only had a couple of listens to the album, I must confess, like 3 or 4, but with headphones, so I've absorbed it. But Rising Fire, yeah, I'm with you on that one there. I love it when you bring the heavy, and I've got to ask this question too, mate. Do you feel as though Firewind at this point in time, it's been going for 20 years. You certainly did the Aussie thing, which is where a lot of people in Western markets probably recognise you. But do you feel as though Firewind gets enough recognition as a standalone band these days?
Honestly, look, and I don't want to sound like a cunt or anything, but but I think we're a little bit of an underrated band.
Yeah,
I think the band could have. I think the band could have been bigger than what it is. On the other hand, we've had lots of reasons, all the reasons of the world, that this band could have gone to hell with all these members coming and going, and a hiatus for 5 years in between. So like on the flip side is like we should thank whoever it is, we should thank God or whatever, thank our fans that we still have them and that we are still here. And, we've even reached this level, that, yeah, this is a band that is, not a big band, but like established to a certain level. And there is an international recognition and there is a fan base worldwide. Not a big one, but it exists and it's stuck with us for almost 20 years now. So, there's like two sides of the coin. Are we underrated? Should we be bigger? I think, yeah, we definitely should. We should be, playing bigger venues, and I think every musician you will ask, they will tell you the same about their band, So everybody thinks their band should be bigger, and everybody thinks their band should be headlining festivals or whatever, or playing higher up there on the bill. But then again, we're a very troubled band too at the same time. So sometimes I understand why things went the way they went, because in a way we also brought it to ourselves. Yeah.
Is that just internal issues like beefs between band members, that sort of thing? Can you talk about that, like some of the issues that you mentioned a few times through the conversation?
I think it's just like, I don't know what to say. I think it's probably me making choices that were not successful for band members in the past, especially singers. Don't get me wrong, we have had some of the best fucking heavy metal singers in this band. All of them were super talented, and that's why I always asked them to join the band, but that didn't mean that they were the right choices, because, and I said this before, like, having talent or being a great performer or a great musician or whatever it's not the only thing it takes to have a successful career in music. This is just like the beginning, like one part of the equation, maybe like 20% or 30% of it. Like, you need to want this, with all that comes with it, the good and the bad stuff, like, so you need to love the traveling life, you need to be able to it's like you have to make available for it. It's a big commitment being in a band. You can't do this, you can't get into this because it doesn't guarantee you're going to be rich or you're going to make money. So it's like you have to be strict and follow a certain strategy. If you're going to make like a 5-year plan, we're going to start this and this is where we're aiming to end with, within this time frame. Like, in order to achieve results, like any business, you need to set goals and have a strategy how to achieve those goals. So it's not just like, oh, I wrote a cool riff. Yeah, the world is going to love it. Like, no, like, why?
Yeah.
So I've made choices in the past that maybe they were not like, there were people that were, maybe looking at this for a hobby or something that they wanted to do for a little while. And maybe I didn't sense things right, or so I think this has been the biggest struggle for us, like and unfortunately those people have primarily been the singers. Like, usually, like a bass player will leave or a drummer, and then it's not much drama, but I mean, funnily enough, our rhythm section has been the most stable of all, and people and those guys never get the credit for that. They should, that because they stuck with it. Like, Petros has been in the band since the beginning, basically.
Shit.
And Johan, our drummer, has been around for 9 years. That's a long time, but we can't keep a damn singer for more than 3 or 4 years. So
yeah.
So has that hurt the band? Yes, it has, of course. But I always think like, well, it's worth another shot. It's worth another shot. And if I have the right material in my hands, I think it's worth a shot. And I think, for example, this album is a good proof of that, because it is getting some buzz right now.
Agreed. Yeah. Look, I reckon, and for the second time I'll say this, I'm not just saying this or blowing smoke up your ass because I'm talking to you, but I reckon you're my second favourite guitarist for Ozzy. You're just behind Jake E. Lee. And you're the player,
really? Oh, yeah,
you're the player that was closest to him out of anybody there. Zach has always done his own thing. Alex Skolnick was only there for a couple of live shows. The list goes on. I've spoken to Zach too. Zach's fantastic too, by the way. But your guitar playing, just the way you're phrasing, because I'm a musician, I'm a guitarist and bass player as well. So I'm big on phrasing, and I listen very carefully, especially with headphones on, close my eyes. And your live performances with Ozzy were impeccable. And I've had a chat to Bob Daisley, Zach, Alex Skolnick, and now I'm chatting to you about the whole Ozzy experience. And When I was talking to Alex, I mentioned that working with Ozzy must have been like dealing with a placid ocean that could turn into a tempest rather quickly, which he agreed with. Is that your experience as well?
What was that? What was that comparison? Come again?
Like a very calm ocean that could turn into a tempest or a tsunami very quickly.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think that those were different times too. I mean, that was probably Ozzy that was intoxicated the whole time.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
those were different times. I mean, the Ozzy that I got to know was like, when I joined, he was 60 years old and he was sipping on his tea and sitting down there and telling stories, and we were all having a laugh. So, and it was all very relaxed, very, very relaxed, very cool. No pressure. I think most of the pressure was created by the people around him, not from him. Like it was always like, I remember when he was arriving at rehearsal, there was like all these assistants, like, well, 10 minutes. Now they're making a right turn to that. Like, he'll be here in 5 minutes. Oh no, he stopped up for a piss. Everybody get ready. I'm like, what's all this fucking, why is everybody like on their toes? I mean, okay, I understand they're getting paid to be there and have a role, but I'm like, okay, it's the rehearsal, like we're all here. We've been here for 2 hours, like fucking playing the set list already for 5 times. So I mean, but he was such a chill guy, like really cool. So was Sharon, really cool with me always. Like they took care of me. It was great. So
yeah.
So for me, it was great. It was a wonderful experience. Like, so I don't know. I mean, like I guess for Ozzy, for that band, like, in the 80s, I'm sure it was a different situation. It started out differently. It became a different thing. And, you have to, in the 2010s, it was a different thing, like it was a big change for them too as well, whatever, like, putting Zach on ice for a while and then bringing in a new guy. They didn't know. I didn't know anything about that world either. I just came from the club scene playing with my own band, and all of a sudden, I didn't know how to be a hired gun. It was never a thing I did, so I did it briefly with Arch Enemy in 2005 for a tour, and I decided, okay, that's not for me, this world. I like to be the artist. I like to be the guy who calls my own shots. So anyways, I mean,
but have you ever had that feedback before? Because you're literally the only guitarist outside of Jake that I've heard playing Killer of Giants and Shot in the Dark correctly. And you know what I mean when I say that, because you've played it correctly. But Killer of Giants is incredibly hard to get right, but you nailed it.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, even nobody will ever nail it like the guy who wrote it, which is Jakey Lee. But I did my best. There's a little bit of a thing with that song in me, because it was like
very hard.
But it's one of those things where I grew up with that, and I remember my guitar teacher bringing me the chords to that and teaching me part by part all that acoustic intro back then when I was like 16 or something, and it was like, it's like part of my musical education, if you like. And when I suggested once to Ozzy, I said, dude, this song, I mean, that's a fucking diamond. We should play that. And I mean, I was surprised that one day I just saw it in that set list and we started rehearsing it. And I was like, wow, it was like, I don't know, almost like a childhood dream come true. Like, oh, we're actually going to get to play this. I thought it wouldn't pass the rehearsals, but we actually kept it for the whole world tour. It was just a beautiful song, man. Great song.
Yeah, it gives me tingles watching it. It makes my spine tingle actually watching you play it, man. There's so many fan film videos out there, as I'm sure you've seen on YouTube, but you just get it right, and it's so important to old fans like myself. And what about Never? Was there ever conversations about performing Never? Because that's actually my favourite all-time Ozzy track.
Sorry, which one?
Never. So it's about the middle, track 5 on The Ultimate Sin.
No. Wait.
Sorry?
Wait, I have to look at that.
Check it out.
Ultimate Sin.
Yeah. It was written by Bob Daisley, because I've had a chat to Bob about it. So I know what the lyrics are about.
Never Know Why. Okay.
No, it's called Never. So there's Never Know Why, and there's Never. A few tracks down. Have a listen to it afterwards. You'll know what I mean. Have a listen to it and then listen to the lyrics.
I don't know why I haven't heard that song.
It's
I know
killer.
this album like inside out. I don't know why. Was it like not released here in Greece?
It might not have been, yeah, but it's got such a perfect vocal cadence to marry up with Jake's very
Dude,
jagged rhythm
you're not
guitar
gonna
bit.
believe it. I had that vinyl. I had that vinyl since I was a kid, and the last song on side A was "Thank God for the Bomb."
That's really weird, isn't it? So there's no
That's
never.
fucked up. No.
Mate, you would love that track if you hear it. It's perfect for you and the way you play the guitar.
Wow, I'll check it out for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you get a lot of feedback from fans like myself who really know Ozzy's music that you are an extremely accomplished player and that you serve the songs beautifully?
I get that. Yeah. I mean for the people like you who are like really into the music and they know their stuff, and I get some stuff like that. But I also got I had a lot of naysayers too. I mean, not telling me straight to my face. Nobody has ever done that. But online you see stuff obviously that it's it goes both ways. It's the same. Like I think it's such a it's such a hierarchy of in that band, like the hierarchy of the guitar players of Ozzy. You just like Randy is the king, and then everybody else goes like it's gets in line for that after that, So and of course I'm the last guy on that list, and I get it, I get it. So and I remember talking to Kevin Churko, the producer, when we were doing Scream in the studio, and I said, dude, is like one day I said, look, I'll probably go down in history as like his worst guitar player. And he goes, yeah. He said, maybe. He said, but we will be at least one of them.
That's a hell of a thing to say. Yeah, I mean, Kevin's a good guy too, so I'm sure he meant well. Yeah. But yeah,
no, he said no. He actually said, I don't think so. But even if that's the case, at least you were one of them. So yeah. I mean, what a great thing. In the end, like, okay, you're like one of those guys there, Sure, you're gonna be maybe down the list, of course. I mean, it's kind of funny. Like Zakk Wylde is the longest-serving guitar player there, and he's done so many classics with him. But
you're the second longest-serving guitarist for Ozzy. I hope you know that.
Yes, I know that. Yeah.
Second longest-serving guitarist. Yeah, people don't realise that you've been around second. I mean, look, people, the Church of Randy. I get it. It's like the Church of Cliff Burton for bass players, or not even bass players. It's fans. Us musicians. We know, okay, and I'm not heaping shit on Randy or Cliff Burton at all, but Randy had his thing, and it was great, but it was, it's to taste, isn't it? He became deified like Kurt Cobain did after he died. I doubt very sincerely, and this is nothing against the man and his legacy, that he would have become the icon that he's become if he hadn't died. He would have just been another guitarist in Ozzy Osbourne's pantheon of works, if you know what I'm saying. But because he died, and it was really Bob that wrote a lot of those songs, though, I must say. I've spoken to Bob about this, so I know that. Randy did come up with a lot of the riffs, but Bob really arranged everything, and if it wasn't for Bob, it wouldn't have happened. Lee Kerslake as well, I must say.
Right, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean, yeah. I mean, I've spoken to
I know what you mean. That, yeah, I mean, I think back then it was probably more like a real band effort, even up until like albums like No More Tears. I think Bob was involved in that heavily as well.
He wrote all the lyrics, yeah, exactly. Bass line.
A lot of the lyrics, yeah, except like some songs that Lemmy wrote. But yeah, My Mom Coming Home, I think, and stuff like that. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like in that sense, like it was a different thing, and also you have to realize that like when I joined, it was also a different thing. It was not a band, It was like, and Ozzy after in the mid '90s and afterwards, he started collaborating with producers and outside writers, and that's cool, man. He's a solo artist, He should be entitled to do that, It doesn't mean that he needs to have. I never saw it like, does he need to have a certain guitar player? Look, that guy's a megastar. He can have anybody in the world, whoever he wants, to play for him. You know what I mean? So you have to always look at this back and think like, this is the greatest thing that ever happened. And, I think personally for myself, thinking like I got all I could get out of that. And I think he gave me all he could out of that, with his, he truly did. He truly did try to help me. When we were on tour, he would shout my name, get the whole fucking arena screaming my name every night when he would present me. Like,
that's cool. Yeah.
The guy really tried to, he told me like, after this is done, he told me like, hopefully 500 of these motherfuckers can come and see you if you play a club. Like, hopefully people will know who you are. You deserve that. So he really tried,
That's lovely to hear, mate, because I know it's not always been like that. As you've read what I've read, and you've heard Jake talk and Bob talk and Lee Kerslake talk, they've shit on other band members in the past, but not you. And I'm really happy for you that hasn't happened, man, because you didn't deserve that.
Yeah, I've read a lot of stories, and like I said, it's hard for me to relate to that because I did not have those experiences with the Osbournes, and then again, the '80s was a different time. Maybe the structure was different then. Then there's always the case that maybe you have to understand also you're working you're a sideman for he's a star, not you. So nothing against anybody here, but I don't know what they were told when they joined the band, but I was clearly told what the role is, what we should be doing, and I was fine with that. So it's like a situation. I always say, and I say this to the if somebody plays for me in my solo band, like, look, man, we want you to play drums, or we want you to play bass, and we want you to do this and this. Like, can you do that? It's like, what I mean? It's like we don't want you to write the songs, or we don't want you to make the decision if we should take this tour or not. Leave that to me and the manager or whoever.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I totally get it. Yeah. Mate, I think our time is up, unfortunately. God, I could keep talking for hours, to be honest.
Yeah, I get the next one. So,
look, I want to thank you so much, mate, for the interview. It's been awesome to finally chat to you. You can tell I'm a fan, not just of your work in Aussie, but I do love Firewind as well and your solo stuff. And, mate, long may you continue to be an epic guitarist, bringing shredding to the world.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for the support.
No worries, Gus. All the best, brother.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Thanks, mate. You have been listening to the one and only Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith. Hope you enjoyed that chat with Gus G. Of course, his band is Firewind. He's a solo artist, and many of you know him through Ozzy Osbourne. Thanks for listening.